Welcome into a brand new episode of WSI TV. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another brand new episode of Bishop's Move here on WSI TV. I'm your host, Jordan Bishop, and before we get kicked off today, I want to remind you to go over to WSITV.com, sign up for our free daily newsletters. You'll also get instant access to the WSI Vault. You'll get emailed every time we put out a new episode. You'll also get the articles through the week, so make sure you're all signed up there. Now today, the topic I'm going to be covering is building wealth from health. Now, as you may know, international health systems have taken the spotlight recently with the COVID-19 pandemic that has been flooding the world. So we've seen a lot of stories about how the healthcare system is reacting, about how it's recovering from the influx of patients coming into the hospitals and how it's dealing with that. They're being pushed to their limits in a lot of places. We hear this term that the healthcare system is buckling. Hopefully, with recent numbers that have come out just today before recording, it's looking like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And we'll be looking at a special chart in just a bit that also sort of tells us we might be pulling out of this, which also gives us an opportunity to profit and flood money into the healthcare system as well, which is always a great thing too. But of course, we'll be pulling money back into our pockets from this at the same time. So we're talking about a lifeline here that they may have been handed, and we're using something that has been used before. Not exactly the same idea that we've used before, but going back to 1940s where during World War II, certain corporations, big factories looked to play their part. So obviously the economy shut down between 1942 when the US entered World War II and 1945 when it ended. So the economy basically shut down and the US corporations looked to play their part. What this meant was factories like Ford and GM used their factories to build tanks instead of cars. Now we saw Ford and GM shut down their factories not too long ago, and there has been word about them building ventilators for these hospitals. So in a time of need, these corporations are coming together, which hands us, it gives us great pride to be a part of this, but it also hands us a great profit opportunity at the same time because of course we're all looking to survive and prosper throughout this pandemic that's going on right now. As I mentioned, the car factories in World War II was just one example. Now today we're not fighting the type of enemy we fought in World War II. We're fighting sort of not a physical enemy so much, so we don't need tanks exactly to fight this, but we need things like ventilators, like I mentioned, Ford and GM. There's been stories of them making. There's also been stories coming out that Apple has pledged to supply 1 million masks a week. So those face masks that the healthcare workers so desperately need that are being dried up, the supply is being dried up. So Apple has turned from creating iPhones and software and technology, and they're turning their focus on supplying these masks at a rate of 1 million a week, which should greatly help the healthcare sector right now as they're looking to gather all the supplies they need to help fight this enemy we have right now. So with that help, I've been watching the healthcare industry very closely. It's seen some light at the end of the tunnel with these announcements. Now, of course, Apple is a reputable company. I doubt they would pledge 1 million masks if they weren't sure that they were weren't certain that they were gonna deliver them. So I'm sure we'll see those masks coming towards flooding into the healthcare sector, so healthcare workers can rightly use them. I've been looking at a healthcare ETF because, of course, a good way to chop through all the noise and all the news headlines here is to just look at how certain companies and how certain sectors are performing on a price-by-price basis. And of course, there's an ETF. We're looking at an ETF here. It's an exchange-traded fund. Basically, what it is a basket of healthcare stocks that gives us an overall feel of how that sector is moving. And the one we're looking at today is XLV. They have them for retail. They have them for finance. They have them for oil, all kinds of things. But today we're looking at the healthcare ETF XLV. At the beginning of this outbreak, XLV actually dropped 30%. So that was the fear of the healthcare system internationally buckling. And of course, we know those healthcare workers have been working extremely hard to with their main focus to help fight this virus and help people out of it. But we did see XLV drop 30%, which was a big indicator that we were initially in a little bit of trouble. But there's profit to be made, and also this chart shows us that there is life at the end of this tunnel at the same time. So if you just take a look at the chart here, now as you can see, it was on a fairly upward trajectory over the past few years. But one thing I do want to outline here is this blue line we've got going here. Now that is Jim's proprietary 70-week moving average. Now we don't use this for everything, and we also don't want to confuse this with the system Jim teaches at the seminars. But in this case, we do see the healthcare sector, XLV, bouncing off this 70-week line over and over and over again until this 30% drop we saw in the past month or so. But what I'm looking at is recently it has broken back above that 70-week line, which is extremely optimistic. So it's recovered about half its loss that it took in the past few weeks. And it was extremely overstretched all the way up here. A lot of people were holding healthcare stocks, it seems, evidence from this chart. But like I said, the price of XLV has broken back above that 70-week line, which means we're looking at a positive future, at least in the short term. So this tells me there's something positive going on behind the scenes. I do believe that the stories out of GM and Ford and Apple are helping to push this, and it looks like we should be recovering in that sense. And also it looks like we found a nice way to profit if you jump in on XLV, and it can stay above that 70-week line. So hopefully the healthcare sector, for many reasons, has got its head above water again. Of course, people are fighting every day against this virus, and we're looking at ways to help our nation, our world, even get out of this crisis. But also, you need to help yourself through this time of need and jump on opportunities like this. So thank you so much for joining me this week. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for watching the latest episode of WSI TV. Be sure to visit WSITV.com, where you can subscribe for free with no contract and gain instant access to the secrets of self-made millionaires via the WSI TV Vault. So go ahead and claim this gift for free now at WSITV.com.